Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome back. If you have already checked out Monday and Tuesday of how I'm putting my Week in Life album together, in this video you're going to see the rest of the week, which is Wednesday through Sunday. Where I'm at right now in the process that you can see on the video is I have all my photos placed, which means I've printed all my photos. I have also added in all of my journaling. Some of my photos have journaling on top of them that I did in Photoshop. Other ones don't have anything on them. And so now what I'm doing is starting the process of going in day by day and adding ephemera or products. So it might be chipboard pieces, it might be stickers, those kinds of things. Or it might be handwriting directly on the photo. And you're going to see some examples of that coming up here in a little bit. One of the things that I was thinking about as I got into this part of the process was there were definitely parts of it where I wanted to be looser. And to me, looser is like handwriting onto the photo, right? That it feels a lot looser than having text directly on the photo. And that might not be the best description for that, but that's what I thought about. And we'll see that when it comes up. Right now, you can see that I'm trying to add this chipboard piece on. And I wanted to leave a little bit of the backing on the top there. So I ended up needing to use a couple glue dots. There is what I'm ending up using just to reposition it onto my photo because I put it on there crooked. There's a couple places over the course of this video that you're going to see me correcting mistakes. A couple times it requires reprinting photos when I stamped the wrong day on them, but we'll see those as they come up. I always find this part of the process, like Week in the Life is a really big project most of the time because it includes these different phases, right? So the first phase is maybe getting ready and thinking about what you want to capture. The second phase is doing the work of documenting. And then the third phase, so the work of documenting is taking the photos, writing things down, collecting ephemera if you want to use that. And then the next phase is actually bringing it all together. And different people are going to get stuck in different parts of the process. You might get stuck during the actual documenting, or you might get stuck in this phase. And I know for some people, this can really feel like work, like this part of the process, because it's just a lot of bringing together words and photos. Side note, I'm using a Posca paint pen, Posca white paint pen to write directly onto my photos in white ink. Actually, that's a Sharpie. I didn't even notice. I thought that was the Posca paint pen. Usually I use the Posca paint pen rather than the Sharpie, and I'm seeing that now. Anyway, different pieces of the process can be harder than others. And I always find this part, the part of bringing it all together, to be, it's not really hard. It just takes time. And sometimes it's really fun, and other times it feels like work. And I'm not afraid of doing the work part. It just can feel hard to get motivated to do it sometimes. What I can tell you about that is that I am always, 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 always happy at the end when it's done. It's just that process of getting through. And one of the things that helps me is by one of the things that helps me to get it done is by having some kind of a formula, right? Where I'm not having to rethink every time I come upon a new page. I'm not having to rethink everything. So there's definitely some things that get repeated each day, and I follow some patterns for each day. But then I also do some different things. Like you can see on this day on Wednesday, I'm adding in a lot of handwriting directly onto the photo. So that's a slick writer that I'm using right there on that one. On some of the photos, I'm adding chipboard pieces, the word phrase stickers, or the other word phrase stickers that aren't chipboard. I'm putting a little something extra on there. This is not a project for me that is really crafty. December Daily is definitely more of that kind of project for me, and sometimes some of my travel projects are like that as well. This project is more words and photos, and so in the end, it is getting it all in together, right, and getting it done. So that's what I've been working on around here. You can see that I'm using the day of the week stamp set and Stays on Ink to stamp directly onto my photo. I ended up doing this for each day of the week on some photo for each day of the week. And I really like how that turned out. It's kind of a fun way to add a little something directly on top of your photo. You can obviously do that same thing in Photoshop and have some repeated words on there, but it's nice to be able to use the physical product too. On that last photo there, I used one of the label stickers that is included in the sticker booklet. That was where that was from. So moving on to Thursday, on each of my main photos there, I'm adding one of the hexagon pleather pieces. And on this one, I decided to use the Slick Writer to add just a little bit more journaling below. And my journaling talks about how I started using an iPad Pro a couple years ago for my handwriting. And previously, when I did word art for products and things, I would handwrite it and then scan it in. And so now I'm using Procreate and Apple Pencil for that. So that's what the little bit of the story that I am telling right there. I also went back to Wednesday and added on some white text. Again, just trying to, when I decided I wanted to start adding some handwriting onto some of these images, I wanted to go back to Monday and Tuesday and add that in a couple other places as well, just for some consistency throughout the album. Another thing that you're going to see that I did do, and you might have read this in the blog post, and if you're watching this on YouTube, you can click over to my blog post where you can see still images of all of these spreads. But one thing I did for the ephemera is that I didn't have enough to fill in every day, so all the pockets for every day. So what I decided to do instead was to trim the page protector down to accommodate the things that I wanted to put in there. And you can also see that I just added something else. So I absolutely do not feel like if you were to start picking up pieces of paper or going through your recycling, which is what I did for some of this, if you start doing that now, it's really not that long after the project, and you could just fill in those pockets. So I wouldn't feel bad about doing that at all, and I also wouldn't feel bad about not having enough for each day to fill in all the pockets. So you can easily just trim off a section of the pockets. I don't usually save those. Sometimes I do, but I do it enough that I just don't want to save all of them, so they go into my garbage, which is not awesome, but that's what it is. Then again, I'm just going through, I just added on word phrase stickers and the chipboard pieces onto more of those 3x4 photos. You can see here that we're not sped up anymore. It looks like I'm actually going super slow. Part of what I was doing as I dive into Friday, or the 5th day, is I was looking at the different pleather pieces I had there and figuring out for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, what phrases on the hexagons did I want to put on each photo, just so that they made a little bit more sense. So moving into Friday. Friday was the day that our kids came back here. So this is the first time that I've done this project without the kids here the majority of the week, and I'm glad that I took time to do that. I think that that was a worthwhile endeavor to really kind of capture and document what it's like when they're not here, and then be able to have a few days to capture what it looks like when they are here. Again, all a part of life at a completely different point in time, right? Living under quarantine, those kinds of things. So very interesting time in all of our lives. So again, I'm just working through here. You can see I'm adding little bits and pieces of things, keeping it super simple. I think this is one of the reasons why I like to work from a kit or from a small group of supplies where I don't have access to all my products, which just ends up being a lot of choice, and sometimes a lot of choice can really be hard. It's hard to make decisions when we have too many choices. So I usually welcome having a kit or limiting my supplies and then just working from those. I definitely still love the process of using the hole punch there, the 1.5-inch circle punch, to punch half of a circle out of my 5x7 photos that I added in. You might notice that I'm doing some of them along the top. I think in the first 2 days, Monday and Tuesday, Monday at least, I know that I was putting them all on the outer edge. I think it makes sense to look at each individual photo and decide where to punch them. So I have them kind of all over the place. There's some on the top. I don't think I did any on the bottom. They're either on the top or on the outside edge. And I will say that I loved having the 5x7 photos as the inserts this time. They're just that much bigger than the 4x6, and they really they become a little bit more like having the full page photo, which is something that I've always liked as well. I am adding on some of the little plastic hearts. I'm stapling them onto photos. I think that's what I'm peeling off right there. These tiny little baby hearts. Adding them back into the pockets there, adding another one. One of the things too with these, so what I'm doing when I punch that, and then I'm using a plastic, this is a sheet of graphics plastic that I then pull back up the two photos that I adhered together, and then I'm using the asterisks adhered back to back on those for the actual accent. Most of them do not actually stick outside of the album, so I'm not super worried about that part of it. I'm more worried about them not staying stuck together. So I did consider stapling them, but I didn't end up doing that. So here's one of my mistakes where I'm stamping Thursday instead of Friday on this photo, and I will realize that mistake pretty soon. And then you'll see how I reprint the photo and then come back and do it again. For Saturday, I printed out this beautiful picture of a peony. This is not one from my yard. I would love to have this variety in my yard, but it's one from the farm that I get flowers from when I can and be a part of their CSA. So adding a little bit of that on there, I'm really liking that look. It's it's loose is the word that I'm using related to that. Like it's just a looser, more organic feel by having the handwriting directly on there. And I like that mixed in with a lot of the other ones, including more type on the photos. So again, going about that process, using the same treatment on all of these 5x7 photos. Again, either punching the half circle off the top of the photo or along the side, depending on what's included in the image. I really like that. I thought that was a fun way to do something with those photos that it was a little bit different than what I had done before. So here's Saturday. Saturday had the least amount of ephemera. I do end up adding 2 additional things to there so that the other pockets are full. I think I do that when I take photos, so you don't see that, but you can see it in the photos themselves. And again, just continuing the process of looking at all of the pictures that I printed out and seeing, what can I add onto here? And I don't add a sticker onto every single one, most of them, but not every one. And so I think it's nice that it's a nice reminder that you don't have to add something onto every one, in terms of making it more, I don't even know what I'm trying to say about that. Do what works best for you. Do what feels good to you and your own story, right? This is your story that you're telling. That's another thing I really like to encourage people about too, is that when, I'm happy to be here for you to get ideas and inspiration for these. This again is a mistake, so this is where I figure out that I have to go back in and redo these. I want you to be working on owning your own voice, right? Owning your own voice in this process. And your photos are going to be different than mine, and your life probably looks different than mine. And that is part of what we do as memory keepers, is celebrate our own lives, right? And the stories that we are living right now, which also gives us the opportunity to change them if we want to, when we're able to look back and able to reflect and able to see our life reflected back to us through these words and photos. It helps us as we make changes or make adjustments or think things through. That's one of the things that I've always valued about memory keeping. So if your photos don't look exactly like mine, or your yard doesn't look like mine, I don't want you to ever be thinking any less of yourself because of any of those kinds of things. These are the things that I love and the things that I have in my life and what my life looks like right now. And we all have different cool things going on. All right, excuse me. All right, so I am just continuing on here on Sunday, and I am going to add one more thing to that Sunday strip. Again, just the weekends, I wasn't collecting ephemera as much, but I could have just waited and added more on there as well, just like I was inviting you to do a few minutes ago. I still needed to fill in the gratitude card for that day. I did a good job on all the rest of them, getting them in the right time. Okay, so here, sorry. Here we go. We're fixing these days here, fixing my stamp. So I needed to reprint 2 different photos. This was the first one, and then I'll do the second one as well. So I just peeled the photos apart and re-adhered it with that, with the centerpiece placed inside of the half circle. So definitely mistakes are part of what happens in this process. And then I'm going back through and I'm like, what other days did I miss other days, or how did I get so off on this? But yeah, I figured it out as I went along. So that's good. That's part of the process. And there's always things that I make mistakes on too. And then people are like, oh, you spelled that wrong or whatever. And that does happen. I try to use spell check every time. But it happens still. So one of the things here as I working on the last page here, I just ended with a 5x7 image. I thought about adding in like an end page, and I decided against it. I might still go back in and do that, just for kind of wrap up or something. I did not take a group picture of all of us, which is something that I would still like to do. So that actually might be something that could go in at the end, and it obviously does not matter if I do it 2 weeks after the fact. I don't think it's still within, the same time period there as well. So adding a little bit of journaling. The one that I didn't have done for Sunday just gave me the opportunity to, kind of give thanks for the process of this project. And that was welcome for me as well there. Adding on those plastic days of the week, I did one of each one of those on all of the 3x4 cards, or within each day for the 3x4 cards. And then adding another chipboard piece onto one of the photos there. So again, just looking for opportunities to add something, a little something from the kit on there is a great way to kind of work through all this. But as I've mentioned previously, this project is way more about the words and the photos to me than it is about anything else. And so I love the opportunity to look back at these. Now, the other thing that I had left to do, and you'll see in a minute, here's another opportunity to write directly on the photos. And I often take pictures with that in mind of, having some space, either that's created by the sky or created by a table. There's lots of different ways you can create that kind of space there, and then be able to write on, directly on your photo, and did that a couple times there. The other thing that I still had left to do was I did a traveler's notebook that is at the front of the album, and I'm going to get to it in just a second here. And this actually came about from the Week in the Life prep day, and that's still available if you want to go in and view the content from that day. It's a $5 workshop that includes a variety of downloads and different things. And one of the downloads that's in there is this printable traveler's notebook to ask questions of your people. And so I did that for each of the kids. I'm still need to do it for myself, and I would like to have Aaron do it, but he would like to have his be private. So I'm honoring that. But the rest of the kids were all down with participating here. And so what I'm doing is I took pictures of each one of them, new pictures, and I am just getting it in the right order within the album itself. These printable pages, I printed them back to back. I have a laser printer that just prints back to back, and so I did that. I believe that in that free download, or the download that's a part of the prep day, there's an individual one as well as the front to back, so that you can print that way if you want to use it in the way that I'm using it here with the folded pages. Another thing that I often do when I am making a traveler's notebook like this is, after I get all my pages in there, I often like to use washi tape to just kind of hold things in place. And so you're going to see that in a minute here, how I use that just to kind of keep everything all together. I don't usually stitch But I definitely could in this case, and maybe I will. I would need to look that up to see how to do that. But you can stitch or you can staple it in place if you get like a long reach stapler, which I actually do have here in the office, and I could use that too. But this is how I like to use the washi tape. So once I have it all laid out, that photo of Simon is not directly connected to that other page, but by adding a little bit of washi tape on there, then it is connected to that page, and things just turn a little bit easier and they don't fall out. So if you like using washi tape, I've linked this particular washi tape. I got it on Amazon below. But this is an easy way to use up some of your washi tape too, and just add a little bit of fun pattern there as well. So I love these. I don't have high, like my expectations of the kids when they fill these out. I give it to them and then whatever I get back is perfect. And sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they're really simple. I think this one I really liked because it's all quarantine related. They're all like, they don't like the quarantine and they miss their friends. And that's what's real for them right now. If you guys have any more questions on this project, please feel free to let me know. You can see all of the images on my blog, the still images on my blog. And you can also see my Monday and Tuesday process videos as well here on YouTube and on my blog. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I hope you guys have a great day.